Hey, welcome to January 24th, 2023. My name is Joey Ragona. You are who you are, and we are here for another Marketing Made Easy episode number 156. And there is my buddy Scott, who has been with me throughout this entire journey of 156 episodes. Welcome, my friend.
You scared me for a second, Joey. When you opened the show today, it was like boom. You came out of just like boom.
I mean,
Right?
it's been like an epic day of coaching. As you know, Tuesdays are my most
Yep,
fulfilled coaching days. So
yep.
I'm on fire. This, I just I wake up, I get a lot of sleep before, and then I turn on the trigger, and then it's like all day long. And then after the show, I'm probably going to go into a little bit of a nap, right? Just to shut down my brain a little bit. So
I hear you. It is exhilarating when you get to hang out in your zone of genius and coach people. You do so well. It just what a gift.
yeah, thank you, man. Today, we are talking about the power of suggestion and positivity for our own minds and stuff that we've talked about before, but really maybe not as in depth as tonight's discussion hopefully will go. We'll see how it goes. But I figured that we would talk a lot about, how do we talk ourselves into success? Hey, and Lorna's here. Hey, good timing, Lorna, because Lorna's really great at self talk. So I think we touched on it in the last couple of episodes about self talk, and you know that it's one of my new routines that I've been doing successfully now for every for 24 days. I've been doing this, and I've been actually doing it since 2007, but not on a routine basis like I am right now. And um and I know that you are always again positivity too. So I just wanted to open this discussion up and talk a little bit about what I'm learning and how I'm up leveling my own self talk and how to talk myself into more success. And yeah, just I'll leave it there. What are your thoughts on that first? I'll open that up for you.
How about I'll go with yeah, just like you said. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. I want to go back to episode 156 before we get too deep into episode 156. Talk your way to success. I love the topic. I totally am jazzed about it. But I want to get back to 156 because that's 352s. And you know that I always love playing numbers in this, and 352s is 3 years of 52 weeks of doing a live show.
Oh wow. Congratulations, my friend. High
Um,
five it.
well, that we've done that, and it just I know we celebrated at 150. We're not really celebrating. I just you talk your way to success. We could bridge anything to any piece, but you know, talk your way to success. There's some hidden in there. We've been talking our way to success for the last 3 years, 156 episodes, because all we talk about is marketing and mindset and strategy and all of the elements involved in what we do. So we are talking our way to success every week as we talk our way to success this week. I just wanted to recognize that again, Joey, because in the grand scheme of what we talk about, the three pillars especially, which just always pop up and popped up today in a conversation, is if that's what we're doing, is we're building a tribe and we're serving them and respecting their timeline, then all of this is what success is. So good topic again. The fact that we've done this and no matter what, we show up and do it, that's success in itself. Forget about any measurement of any kind, because in life we look at, okay, that's cool, but are they going to show up?
Yeah. Yeah.
In anything, whether it's our business, whether it's our lives, our friendships, our companies. Well, yeah, I got employees. Are they going to show up?
Yeah.
And just another piece in the whole mindset that we talk about is showing up. So I'm going to throw it back to you now. I feel really amazing tonight and honored that I've been a part of this and that for 3 years to be able to say that. I like playing with numbers when I do my challenges with my yoga and that, but something else that's just so near and dear that I love, not only talking about every single week with you plus, but then being able to talk to my clients and my people and my small tribe and help them along the way with what I know, and that we do the same thing,
Hmm.
and that we don't know what it's going to turn into after 3 years.
Hmm. Yeah, thank you for that, man, and thank
Just
you for being a part of it, and thank you for bringing that to the surface to recognize that, because you're right. So, I mean, sometimes we just push it under the rug. Like, what's the next thing that we need to do? Or we're looking ahead to the future, or tomorrow. What do I got to do tomorrow? So you're right, and thank you for bringing that to my attention, because it is something that we need to celebrate, and I need to do more of that myself. I'm learning better, like to get better at celebrating the small wins and sometimes even the big wins. And this is a big win, but and it's funny how, as you said that, I'm like, wow, it's amazing how I didn't even think about it.
mhm.
Where when I'm with clients like all day today, that's my job, is to say, hold on, step back a second and just drink in what you just said. Like, listen to that and celebrate that for a second. It's so uncanny. At least for me, it happens to me. Is like, we can coach other people, but then we're looking at ourselves like, huh, maybe I should listen to my own advice, you know?
My dear friend Bob always says, "Take my advice. I'm not using it."
Yeah. Very cool. Well, thank you for that. I
Well,
want to talk a little bit about positive self-talk and the differences between, what that really means, and affirmations and all these things that are great. Because I grew up on, in the last 12 years or so, whatever it is, uh, with the intentions of understanding, and for affirmations, that's really what it was, where my first introduction to this whole positive mindset was. And there's nothing wrong with that, with affirmations, I think. But self-talk, is, now that I'm learning, is a whole lot different. And we discussed this a little while ago. We teased about it, and I think somebody said, can you talk about that? Can you talk about what the differences are? What are your like, do you do any kind of self-talk or affirmations or anything like that? Like, what's your
yeah,
thing?
my thing is a combination of all of them, Joey. Positive self-talk, affirmations, but to me, it's more positive self-talk and mantras that
So
ground.
is a mantra the same thing as a affirmation?
No, because a mantra could just be for one of my mantras is focus, concentrate, meditate. And that's just from my yoga practice. That's in the dialogue. I pull that out, and that becomes a mantra to me when I just need to ground and bring my energy into self and self talk. That's just as kind of like the breaker, the push stop and interrupt it. That's the pattern interrupt, one of them for me. So it's not really an affirmation like I, Scott, love myself, or you're an amazing human being, or you are kind and loving and caring and gentle. All of those affirmations. And then to me, there's the self-talk piece, which they're similar, but I
So
think
what's an affirmation and what's a self-talk for you?
self-talk is the conversation, the dialogue I have with myself, whereas an affirmation is I, Scott, love myself. Scott, you are talented, you are gifted, you are brilliant. And again, these are things I say to me
Hmm.
and not what I say out to the world. It's I am my own coach, and I have my list of all of my superpowers, and I'll read them. That's part of an affirmation. But as far as self-talk, that's where I kind of coach myself into what I'm capable of and what I should be doing and how I interpret life and situations and what's next. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. So, because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of semantics here, and
Yeah.
different perspectives on what it all means, and how we look at it. So, And I'd love to hear from you as well if you're watching this now, or
Joey,
even on the replay.
Joey, one
Yes.
sec. I just normally I will get a notification in my Facebook that we're live, and I
Mhm.
haven't gotten that. It's the first time I've never gotten it where Facebook says, "Hey, you're live in that." I'm just putting that out there. I presume you see people in one of the
Yeah.
group.
Yeah,
Okay.
I see we're live. We've got comments coming in, and I see that we have got people watching live. So yeah, we're good. We're
I
good.
just want to double check with you since it's an oddity, but hey.
Well, I mean, the good part is I'm not going to jinx it, but the audio's, the audio's working. So that's the
Audio
only thing. That's the only thing I'm worried about right now. Um,
good.
the notifications, we'll deal with that another time. So like, there's 5 levels of self talk that I'm learning about, and 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 2 of them are destructive, and we don't even know that they're destructive. And then getting into the higher levels of how we can talk ourselves into success. And like I was saying, if you're watching this, let us know what your thoughts are, for some feedback, or what your thinking is, and maybe help us understand from your perspective and educate us and all that. And just join in the conversation. We'd love that. And the first level I want to talk about is something that everybody does, whether you know it or not, and that is the negative acceptance of yourself. Like you're always you're talking about negativity, whether you know it or not, and you're programming yourself to accept all that. And I think that we should talk about that first, like set it up that there is like your subconscious, like how aware it is. And I don't know what you think of it, but I'm very aware of my subconscious, and sometimes I can almost feel it or hear it or see it working. So I know that there is power to what we're talking about here, and I don't know you who's listening to this what you think about that. But if you just step into the moment, if you don't believe it, if you think it's too woo woo or whatever, and you just think in the moment and just let your mind go for a second and open up to the possibility of what we're talking about here, you might see some reasons why you might not be moving forward. And this is what I had to do back in 2007 with John Assaraf, because it was up to that point, it was like, yeah, yeah, like that, whatever. That's all that other woo woo stuff I don't want to think about. But I caught myself saying, I always reference this one thing as, how are you, Joey? And it was like, same crap, different day. Like that's how I would say things. And that's how my life was. It was the same crap, different day. And I thought to myself, well, maybe there is something to this. Maybe there is something to this. Listening, your subconscious is listening and it's delivering exactly what you're asking for. And that's the area we need to talk about. So how familiar are you with this, Scott?
I am very familiar with everything you're talking about, Joey.
So okay, so can you explain the subconscious and how it listens and what's going on?
The subconscious mind is attached to genetically our DNA and our lizard brain. And our lizard brain is the brain that wants to take the path of least resistance. And the lizard brain talks us into not doing most things. That's just part of the natural lizard brain. There's the other brain that we develop over the years through conditioning that has the negative self-talk that says you're not good enough, you can't accomplish it, you can't, don't. A lot of it is voices of authority without getting into too much psychology in depth of, was it parents, was it role models, was it teachers, was it siblings, peer groups that basically condition the mind to believe something, and then that's the script that was written. So now in self-talk, and I'd like to jump back a second, Joey, because
Yeah.
I want to know what your definitions or your differentiation between affirmations and self-talk are from your experience now and what you're studying and learning.
Um okay, we're going to jump ahead on that because I think that comes with like
Okay.
you're right about again, from what I'm understanding is like what you said about the mantras and that kind of stuff is what affirmations really are. Like I am worthy, I am, that kind of stuff. Those are affirmations. I deserve those things. Those are affirmations. Where self-talk is, they can still be there. Like those things can still be in the self-talk, but it's more, the self-talk is more of a directive. And an example would be, you know, um, time based, or I want to lose 50 pounds, or I'm going to stop smoking, those kind of things, where it's more directive. That's not really an affirmation, right? It's more of a directive. So that's the difference. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So let me just see what does Lorna say here. Many kind of affirmations. I like the ones that start with "I am." This is powerful signal to the brain that helps amplify the affirmation. Yeah, that's exactly right. So Lorna,
Yeah.
it's like you're affirming to yourself that you are capable, or you great, or whatever it is. Uh, and Adrian, hey, great. We get to see them this time around. There's no little Facebook thingy. So whatever you did right. Thank you. I think of it as different types of self-talk. I did as an athlete, downtime, practice training, playing the games to self-talk, just some distinctions I think of. Yeah, that could be, you're right, exactly right. And I think that throughout this conversation, I'm sure you'll have more input on this, and I'd love to know your feedback on what we're talking about here. The nervous system as a memory of emerging paradigm, and vagal nerve repair is fascinating. I don't even know what vagal nerve is, but that's amazing. I got to look that one up. Not new, but broader, acceptable concepts. Holy moly, we opened up a whole great discussion here. Amazing. Simone, I'm practicing every day after my meditation, and I choose. Yeah, Dr. Joe Dispenza. I just started reading that book too, and that's blowing my mind, which is so epic. Have you read Joe before, Scott?
No.
Oh my God, like it's just the power of the mind and changing like matter, like basically, and it's so amazing, and I'm so into it. 3 weeks, I'm starting to see every day how much focus I develop into more energetic, more confident. Yeah. um you can use the directive in an affirmation. I'm excited to feel free now that I've released 50 pounds. Yes, very good. Okay, so let's get into this, and please keep the comments coming in and feedback. So let's talk about the first level of self-talk that you may be aware of, or you may not be aware of, but it's the ones where you basically are talking about "I can't," and I am totally guilty of this, which is I don't have enough time, I got no more time, or I just don't have the energy to do this, or I just can't seem to lose the weight, today's not my day. um it's all this stuff that we do normally in our conversations, right? Well, I just don't know how to. Remember, like for the last 3 years, I've been saying, "Well, I just suck at math." Like that's one of them, right? Like that's negative self-talk, and we do it all the time, and it's destructive. It's self-talk that it's cluttering your brain. It's cluttering what's going on, because it's giving you self-doubt, and that goes back to your subconscious, because your subconscious does not know the difference between what's real and what's not. And I don't know what you think about that, but if you're thinking it's kind of woo woo, again, step out of it for a second and just pretend everything's right, and just listen to what we're saying, because if it is true, it has an idea that it is true, that your subconscious doesn't know the difference. That's where the self talk is is affecting you. So if you look back at your life and where you are right now, and it's always been, or you feel as though you've been dealt a bad hand, and you always get the short end of the stick, and all these other kind of things, and you've been thinking that and saying that to yourself for the last 30, 40 years, or whatever it is, and that's where you are, then think about what I'm saying here. I'll stop there and let you have some input there, Scott.
Pretty deep, powerful stuff right there, Mr. Ragona. You're like getting real deep into the psychology and the mind and how it's cool stuff. And it's not woo. And I am a true believer in everything you're talking about because it is how the mind talks. It is how we talk to ourselves. And it goes to the basic premises of is it half full or half empty? And it
Yeah.
goes there as the foundation of everything is how do I want to look at something? You've heard me share the parable of the wise Chinese farmer. Is this a good thing or a bad thing? After goes through everything and saying, is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? And the way we learn to talk, we can change it. And that goes back to a lot of the Tony Robbins things that I listened to many, 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 many years ago with reframing and retraining the brain. And it's really the mind, training the mind to train the brain, because that's how I look at it, especially in my practices, is it's me training the mind to train the brain, to train the body.
Hmm.
And so I for years, things like psychocybernetics, Maxwell Maltz, and putting an end goal out there and then letting the mind go to that and rewriting the scripts that we've developed over the years and the tapes, and pushing stop and figuring out how do we replay that tape. And I
Yeah.
thank you for bringing this up and where you're going and the depths of which you study everything.
Thank you, man. I mean, this is not new to me in terms of the subconscious part of it, because that's what I needed to learn. But where we're going to go is a lot of stuff that I'm learning now. But when I was with John back in 2007 is when I had to open my mind up to, okay, wait a second, how does this subconscious thing work? And if the subconscious doesn't know what's real and what's not real, um, what are we actually doing to move our lives forward? And this is goes back to a question where when I was saying same crap different day, and then I was telling people that I was actively reprogramming my brain by saying something different, they would challenge me and say, "Well, that means you're lying." So, because now if you ask me, this is like I feel better than ever. I feel, there's nothing could be better. It's awesome. Like I'm automatic. That's how I feel. That's how my days are. That's what it is. But back then it was, well, I didn't. My days weren't awesome. But
Right,
so people would challenge me and say, "Well, you're lying to yourself," and maybe that's true. Maybe that's true. But I was more focused on my subconscious, because my subconscious doesn't know I'm lying. My subconscious didn't know the difference. If I said today's awesome, my subconscious would hear it and go, "Oh, okay, today's awesome. So that means let's make the day awesome." You know what I mean? So what do you? I'll stop there again. What are your
no,
thoughts on that one?
I'm in full agreement with you that that is the way we train our minds and our brains and our thought processes, is by doing exactly that. And it's, why wouldn't you tell yourself all the things that you can tell yourself if we have a choice? And I do believe that we have a choice, that we can determine what is that messaging, what is that languaging, and reprogram it when we want by just sitting down and doing it.
Yeah,
Somebody posted in the group today asking a question about routines.
yeah,
We've talked about that, and this is kind of part of it in a way, because
definitely.
it is part of my routines. And they were doing their little research to, get some feedback on, how important, and should this be a freebie for a gift that they're going to give to these people. And just watching that is creating the self-talk. And I believe that there is a part of our brains and minds that have learned, and I think society helps us with that, to go negative rather than going positive all the time.
Oh, 100%. Like your upbringing, your social, like your surroundings, what your parents taught you, how they self-talk, like and this is kind of things where even with self-talk with with your kids or whatever, or we were the kids, and like you'll never amount to anything, or like you need to study better, or you'll never get it, you'll never be anybody. Like that's negative self-talk, even though we as parents might be trying to think we're helping our children, right? To say, get off your butt and start. You've got a brain. You're smarter than this type of thing. That's not helping them. That's not positive reinforcement. That's negative reinforcement. And that's what I'm as learning this, I could see myself, talking to my kids earlier on in their years, going, "Holy crap, that's what I did too. I should not have done that." And there's another negative self-talk right there. What I just said, I should not have done that. That is a self-talk, which is level 2, and we'll talk about that in a second. But I mean, it's so we have to think about the one thing that I'm always remembering now, and for the longest time, is that I'm always on record. The record button is always on, and it's my subconscious listening very, very closely. And all it does, it's got this, I believe that it has this power, this command that says, tell me what to do, and I will go do it for you. I will find the way to do that. And if we're putting the wrong stuff in, it's just delivering back out what we're saying. And that's what the shift is, to try to make it different. So let me talk about level 2, and then I'm going to come back to Adrian. Actually, this is so true here. The trauma and experience are embedded in the nervous systems, like recordings in our body triggers, then activate the reticular activation system in our brain, for sure. Reticular activation, I think that's it's so true about reticular activator. Does that have anything to do, not that I'm arguing with you, but is that the same thing as self-talk? I'm not sure. I think it's more of an awareness, like the reticular activator. I know that you're not talking about this, Adrian, but I just want to bring that up because the reticular activator is more of an awareness. Would you agree, Scott? What do you think?
I'm not sure
Okay.
on this one.
What are your thoughts, Adrian? No, I don't think that's what you're going after, but because the reticular activator, I know for sure that works because I'm always activating that one, and all of a sudden you start seeing things that you never saw before that were always there, right? So that's how that one works. We'll come back to that because I know you're gonna have some comments on this one. The level of the or level 2 of self-talk is the level of self-recognition. This is when we talk about I need to do this, or I should do this, or I ought to, and um, it's again something that is destructive. So if I say to myself, I really need to get organized, okay, that's not positive self-talk because what I'm actually saying to my subconscious, and hear me out, is I need to get better organized, but I'm not. Okay, so when you're saying things like I should, I ought to, right? I need to do this better or whatever, you're actually telling your subconscious, well, this is what you are. You're not organized. So I'm just going to continue to help you be not organized anymore. So it's like if you're and like Lauren, you just talked about I'm always late. That's another self-destructive one, right? I'm always late. I'm always late. So yeah, you're going to always be late. So that's an easy one to reframe because then it's like I'm always on time. I'm always on time. Right? So it would be something like I got some notes here. Um, Here's another example. I'd really like to earn more income, but I'm not. See, like this is the tricky one, is when you're talking about like what do you want, and you say, well, I really need to make more revenue, but I'm not. They don't say you don't say that. You don't say, but I'm not. But that's actually what's happening to your subconscious. So, what do you think about that, Scott?
Again, I'm in full agreement because that is what the subconscious does. It's in full agreement. It doesn't know the difference, so it doesn't know to disagree, so it agrees. And when you present a message to the subconscious that's less than positive and affirming and encouraging, well, the subconscious is going to believe it and process it.
Yeah,
And we get to change it. It's just changing the words. That's the only difference here. There's nothing else.
yeah. It's a reframe, and one of the things that if you find yourself talking this way to yourself, and it's an immediate reframe, like start listening to what you're saying to yourself, or especially what you're thinking. And it's hard to do because it's self-awareness. A lot of us don't want to do this kind of work, but it's self-awareness. And I think that the most dangerous talk that we have is the ones that we don't speak out loud. It's the stuff going on in your head. And the more you become more aware of that, what's going on in your head, you can still reframe it. But it takes work because you're actually listening to yourself think. That's why, we talked about scheduling thinking time, right? Well,
Yeah.
that's part of the training of like I'm really listening to what I'm saying. so I could reframe it and help my subconscious help me move toward the success that I want, or the goals that I want to.
If you don't do what you just talked about, then you're really harming your talk, because in the flow of normal life, day-to-day entrepreneurship and all the other things we're doing, the talk just happens and we don't sit and think about it. It just happens, we process as we do it. Whereas in think time, questioning, wait a second, that's not the thought processes. That's not what should be said. That's not what should be done. You said earlier was, if it's a crappy day,
Yeah.
well, it says if you're driving along and it's raining and it's snowing and the roads are crappy and the traffic and the this and the that, you can simply say, what a crappy day, and it's this and it's that, not a, or what an amazing, infinitely unlimited, abundant opportunity that this thing called life has. Either way, I'm right. Like Henry Ford says, whether you think you can or you can't, you're
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
That's the same thing here. Whichever one that I decide to do is right. And so I believe that, again, the judgment of what the day is or the waking period is all within what we decide it is. And how do we determine this thing that happened has a thing, and that we should make up the story? So take it.
Yeah, and that's a great example of like the day, because your negative self-talk might say, well, here we go. Now it's a crappy day because it's raining, or it sucks because it's raining. And reframe that, because if you want to have a positive day out of that, just abundantly, you could just say something to the effect of, I'm so blessed that there actually is rain, that the grass gets to grow, or that there's water, that some people don't have water, whatever it is. It's like, reframe it. And this
Yeah.
reminds me, this goes off a little bit of a tangent here, but I think I said this before, but I remember when my son was, I don't know, he was young. He was like 4 or 5 or 6 or something like that. We were going to his birthday party anyway, and we picked up his friend, and we went, and this friend went in the back, and he changed my world. This kid, he was like 6 or 7 years old, and my daughter was sitting in the middle, so she was like, I don't know, she was two something, one or two, whatever it was. Matthew sitting on the other side, and this kid is on the other side, right? And he's in the back of the SUV. And as soon as he got in, all he talked about was how awesome everything was. And I'm talking about the simplest things. This kid, he sat there and he goes, and just trying to remember the things he would say. He would say, he goes, "Wow, I've never sat in a truck this color before. This is amazing. Wow, I've never sat beside a 1-year-old with my buddy on the other side. Holy crap, I've never seen the road so like." And he would say, and he just kept going and going and going and going. Okay, and I thought, it just changed my world. And then not only that, we get to the place, and it was like laser tag or something, right? And he's the first one out, so he goes in, and he gets killed, and he comes out, and I'm thinking he's going to be all sad. No way, man. I go, "Hey man, you're the first one out, like, what happened?" He goes, "Holy crap, now I get to be here all by myself, and I get the chips, and I got the thing." Like, everything that's happened negative, he turned into a positive. And a 6-year-old taught me that. I don't know how long, whatever it was, so many years ago. So, I mean, if that's a story you can take to help you as an adult right now listening to this, just think about that. Because we, as kids, we look at everything differently. And as adults, we get into this, the world is coming at us, and we've got all this stuff, and the world is crapping on me. Whereas this kid looked at everything in a positive light. It was just totally amazing.
Everything is presented in a positive light. We just get to decide how we take it. And that's what you said. When you're kids, you just do things for the fun of it. Nothing, we're not thinking about, okay, well, if this happens, then it happens. And what this and how will this affect that? It was just like, let's go do it.
Yeah.
Just fun. And we
Yeah.
just did it, and it was fun. And
Reinforcement on the other hand is a diabetic person saying, I am a diabetic versus I am a whole person with diabetes. Yes, that's a really good reframe too. I'm a whole person with diabetes. One state's totally, and the latter state's a component of. I knew this would spark amazing conversations. A lot of smart people in our house. Uh, if you had a friend who was telling you that you're a loser, fat, and ugly, stupid, etc., you would fire them as a friend. We have to train our mind to be our best friend. Absolutely. And shooting on yourself. Yeah. My friend Mo uh, taught me that one a couple years ago. Stop shooting on yourself. I'll never forget that. So thank you, Mo. I should have changed it to I did the best I could given the knowledge and experience I had at the time. Yep. Um, mhm. Reticular activator is a part of the brain that filters all the information you give it. That's a pretty cool way of looking at that. Reticular activating system is always working for sure. That's why it's important to feed it the positive self talk. Wow, so many great comments here. Adrian, perhaps we have the sensation physiologically, fight or flight. If negative, then we may reinforce the story. Yeah, there's so many comments that are coming in without the context. Now that holy moly, there's so many comments here. I love this. Keep them coming. Scott, you want to read a couple?
I can't read them, Joey, because I can't see the Facebook group.
Why don't you go into the Facebook? Is it not broadcasting to the Facebook group?
Something's weird with my Facebook tonight.
Okay, no worries.
I would love to read it. I always do. Go.
Need is disempowering word. So try, so is should. So is try, so is should. Yeah. So let's talk about the decision to change. Let's talk about level 3 awareness. And this is where you're saying instead of I I need I need to make more money, or I really ought to be better. I really ought to be better at organizing or something like that. That's not the right self-talk. With the self-talk, this is the level that's going to help you now, is is a positive one where it would be something like in Lorna's case. I'm going to use your example with being late. I am never late. Like so, I am never late. I never show up late. Rather than I'm always late. Right. That's the thing. Um, revenue wise, I need to make more money, or I ought to be better at my finances. I no longer have trouble with my finances. So it's a positive change of it's a slight change, but you're talking to yourself saying, I no longer have trouble with my finances. And this is where it gets tricky, Scott. At least this was for me. And I don't know about anyone else listening to this right now. By the way, hashtag live if you're here with the live, or hashtag replay if you're on the replay. And if you like the conversation, please give us a thumbs up, a heart, a smash on the bell, whatever it is where you're watching. That would be totally awesome. But I'd love to know what your thoughts are and maybe some reframes for you. But this is where I had the trouble because, again, our conscious mind, like you were just talking about the three brains, right? So our what is the frontal lobe is the limbic, is it? What's that brain called? Scott.
I'm back in the group finally. Sorry, Joey.
Did you hear anything I said?
I heard everything you said, but
what's
I don't
the
know.
front one? What's the front brain called? Is it the limbic or anyway? The frontal lobe. That's your conscious mind is arguing with you. So if you're saying if you know that you have trouble with finances or something, or in my case, I'll use an example from myself, like accounting. So I'm getting better. I am getting better at numbers. See, I was just going to say the negative thing, but I've had trouble with numbers before. So instead of me saying I suck at accounting, it's like I no longer have trouble with accounting. But that's not true. Like it's not actually true at this moment in time. And this is where the arguments come in or the debates come in to say, well, you're actually lying to yourself. But you're not. You're telling your subconscious what you want in the future. What do you think?
See, I don't think you're lying to yourself because I think that the lie has already been told and you're having to undo the lie.
Okay, that's a great way of putting it.
to me I have with people is that what you're telling yourself, that's a lie. That's not the truth. I know the truth, and here's the truth. So let's replace the lie with the truth. And that's to me always been the conversation, the dialogue I have with a lot of people. It's just that. Let's get rid of the story that ain't true because
Yeah.
it ain't.
So yeah, you're right. I mean, that's a great point to bring up. That what is the story you're telling yourself, or what are the stories that we are telling ourselves? And I
Yeah,
tell myself the story all the time, like I'm not good with numbers, right?
right. Yeah.
So, and
And
I've been telling myself that for years since grade 5, and I know
right.
exactly when it happened. It was grade 5.
Who told you?
I did because I couldn't figure something out on the math test or whatever it was, and said, "This is just I can't figure this out." And from that day forward, it was like math sucks. I'm not good at math.
Thank you for your vulnerability, Joey, here with sharing your math history.
uh, you're welcome. Perhaps you have the sensation. Oh, and I already did that one. Where is it here? I love these examples, Joey. The invisible butt is still active. Yeah, that invisible butt is a killer. So be careful of how you frame what you're saying. So the just to talk about that again, if you're saying stuff like, I need to be better at finances, that's not the right way of doing it because it's waiting for the but, or the subconscious is inserting the but I'm not. So take out the word I need to, I should be, whatever those things, and say I am better at finances. I am better at running, or whatever it is that you're doing. Example: someone gets into a car accident as a kid, fails the driver's test. I'm a failure. I won't be able to get a job. Yes, they can go that route for sure. Self limitations imposed by trauma then feed into limiting beliefs that snowball over time until we interrupt the ruminations. Ruminations. Sorry. Can you see the comments now, Scott?
I can. I'm going to read Lorna's, okay?
Yeah, you bet. I was just going to ask you to read it.
This just came to mind. Maybe you're going to get to this later. One of the things many do every day that can become negative self talk is looking back at your day and focused on all the things that didn't get done. A success journal of what was accomplished is more positive, and what doesn't get done just moves to the next day. No judgment. And it will be extremely helpful if Lorna actually listened to what Lorna said in this particular circumstance.
A success journal that was accomplished is more positive. Yes.
Yeah.
No judgment. It will be helpful to Lorna to listen to. Yes, definitely. Thank you for that. So Adrian has, if blank then means blank about me, then it means blank about me. Thinking with the framework there. So let's give an example of this. Let me try to bring another example. Would be smoking, right? So let's say you smoke and you wanted to stop smoking. Then instead of saying I need to stop smoking, that is a level 2. That is a level 2 where it sounds like it's a positive, but it's not. So it's I need to stop smoking, but I'm not. I'm still smoking, but I'm still smoking. So the level 3 talk, which is where you're helping your brain say you're going to stop smoking, is I never smoke. Can you see the difference between the two? Scott?
I'm here, Joey. I can't see you. I don't know what happened,
Mm.
but I can hear you. So yeah, I was just reading what some of the comments in here.
So I'll go back to the smoking piece. Did you hear
Yeah.
the so the difference between the level 2 is I need to stop smoking, as opposed to I never smoke. And the other part of it might be I no longer enjoy smoking. and I am quitting. So there's a difference between how you're actually positioning that self-talk. So let's move on to level 4, which is the better you. This is where Alorna has already alluded to this, whereas the I am. This is the level of self-talk that we can all use this one, and it all starts with I am. So again, which an example of mine would be I need to get more organized would be simple. I am more organized every single day. I am more organized in my life. I am more organized in my daily routine or whatever you're saying there. So this is an easy one for you to reframe if you find yourself in any of the 3 levels that we've been talking about. The 3rd level is still cool, but the first 2 levels, if you find yourself there, start off with the I ams.
I love IMs. I fully agree with IMs. And you've heard me on the phone with people take them to IMs. What do you want to do that? Well, I hope one day to be this. Well, I am. I am doing this, and it's creating this. And thank you for the process. It's a great process of taking the mind through the steps to get there,
Yes.
so that you can have the right self-talk.
Yeah. Yeah, Adrian, that the kid was so awesome. I forget what his name was. I know I named him something. And what's coming to mind was his name was Pete, and I called him Positive Pete, but it was something. It was something along those lines. And I wish I could remember his name because he just he was just so awesome, just so awesome. And he didn't even know what he was doing. That's just the way he lived his life. And I always wanted to, like, when I bring him up in conversation every once in a while to my wife, go, remember that kid? I always would just love to meet that guy right now. Like, how did his life turn out, and what is he like now? Could you imagine if he was exactly the same as he as he was then at 6 years old? Wow, what an inspiration.
Have you written an email on that?
No,
Why not?
I don't know, I just never thought about it. So,
Just that to me would recapture the essence of that learning experience and
yeah,
tying into what we talked about tonight. And just that would be an incredible email story to come in about that, and how, what a way to model after a 6-year-old who taught us how to look at everything in this limitless amazement rather than the judgment that has been brought to things. That's
like
all.
thank you for that. And I will do that because I mean, it's so crazy about like every. To me, it was like everything that happened was an adventure for him. He was just in a simple truck, it was a simple car. And it was like I've never been in a car this color. I've never been in a car when it's raining, in a car like this when it's raining. I've never been in a car like this sitting beside 2 other people that I don't know and it's raining and we're going to a place to play laser tag. Like he put it all in, and just like this is an amazing journey. Every single moment was amazing. I just couldn't it just blew my mind. Blew my mind.
An amazing journey it is, Mr. Ragona. An amazing journey it is.
Absolutely true. Innocent and authentic positivity. Yeah. I was always that way as a kid and have evolved a little now as an adult. I have to remind myself to be the light. Exactly. For some reason, we allow we allow our creativity or our amazement of the world to be snuffed out by something that we call stress. Like, it's like there's a lot of stuff going on. There's distractions, there's the stress thing. I got bills to pay, I got all these other things to do. And as a kid, we never had them. Yes, I get that. But at the same time, we look at a mud pie or mud patch or something, we like amazing. This is mud. Today we like, holy crap.
Amazing much.
I gotta jump this because I don't want to get my pants dirty. It's like,
Oh, yeah, Joey, you've heard the story of the father who takes his 2 sons out to the stalls, and it's filled with horse manure. And he hands them both a shovel, and one son takes the shovel and goes, "Oh gosh, I can't believe I gotta do this." And the other son is excited, he's exuberant, he's shoveling away, and he's shoveling away, shoveling away. And the father comes back and he goes, "What's up with you? Your brother?" He goes, "With all this manure here, there's got to be a pony somewhere."
that is brilliant. I've never heard that story. I love that. That is so. That's what I'm talking about. There's gotta be a
That's
point.
exactly what it is. And,
That's an amazing story.
you know, somewhere along the line, the mind gets taught to interpret life situations and then judge them and attach a positive or negative emotion feeling statement to it. And I love what you're talking about because that is, I truly believe that we get to choose at any moment what our thoughts are, no matter what's happening to us from any outside, unless somebody's like a bear is attacking you.
Yeah, for
I,
sure.
there's nothing I can do about that other than fear for my life and hopefully figure out how to get out of it. But for the most part, it's like the situation happened. Now we got to figure out how do we create the dialogue around it. And that's why this was such a good topic.
Thank you.
Art.
I think what we'll do, or to help anyone with this is one of the I guess the triggers that help me to understand how to change self-talk, negative self-talk, or the not so great self-talk into better self-talk is the fact that the best kind that you can do realistically is where it's in the present moment. So even where that's kind of where maybe affirmations come into this as well. So if you said where for example, again, it's like I am, but it's more of an example would be, let me look. So names. So I could never remember names. I'm not great at remembering names. Instead of saying I will be better at remembering names, okay, that sounds like a positive, right? I'm not good at remembering names. Instead of saying I will be better at remembering names, that's again the but is there, the invisible but. It would be I have a great memory. So if ever you're thinking about how do I reframe everything, it's always in the present moment. It's not about the future. It's not about I will do this or it will be because it sounds positive. That's where the confusion is. That's where the kind of tricky thing is. It's not that it's bad, right? I will be better at remembering names. Like that's okay. But you're
Joey,
still telling your present moment that, well, you're not now.
what's the difference in these two statements? I am remembering people's names or I have a great memory.
Nothing really.
Okay, I was just checking to see if you thought it wasn't a trick. It was more of your thoughts because the I am in the moment is I am remembering people's names. I'm remembering everybody's name that I meet.
Yeah,
As
it's
opposed,
it's it's in the moment.
okay,
It's I am remembering. Yeah, I am remembering everyone's names. It's is a present moment.
yeah,
As I have a great memory is as well, right? But it's more of I will remember people's names is the future. And that's what's telling your subconscious right now is like, okay, then that's great, but right now you don't remember them. Does that make
right.
sense?
No, it does make total sense. And you're right because it has to be on the present moment subconscious. It can't be that future thing. It's got to be right now.
Yeah.
Talk's got to change now.
And if I was really looking at the semantics of what you just said, then I would take out the am and say I remember people's names.
There you go.
Rather than I am remembering, because that's still kind of a future thing or maybe a past thing. So if I
Right.
was going to an event, then I would say I remember people's names. Right? Would you agree with that?
I agree. Yeah, I totally agree with it.
Um, okay, well, let me go back to some of these amazing comments. So we got thank you, Jen. Thank you, everyone, for all these amazing comments. Thank you, Adrian and Lorna. This one here, I invert the statement into something with zero negatives. I'm a person who shows up on time. I'm competent with my finances. Yeah, that's exactly right. Like however you frame it, it is your those are present moment statements, Adrian. Always, and if that works for you, take out the negatives is totally cool. I love that. Mindset is everything. You bet. from what I've been taught, you want to read this one, Scott?
Sure. From what I've been taught, using a negative word in self talk can backfire. The brain doesn't filter out the negative word saying, I no longer have trouble with finances, still tells the brain you have trouble with finances. I am good with my finances is more positive.
Yeah, I struggled with that one too in reading all this information too, Lorna, because I was taught that way too, that the brain doesn't know what a negative is. I'm not so sure I agree with that anymore. Like when I've read now, this is my fourth actually on all self talk, and I'm not really sure I agree with that. I'm not arguing with you. I'm just saying I was taught the same thing. Um, yeah, I don't know what to say. That's my thought. I mean, digging into all of this, I don't try to use a lot of negative words in it, but I think I don't know, maybe it's just maybe it's talking to my conscious brain at the same time. It's trying to negate what my conscious mind is telling my subconscious, or I'm telling myself, because our conscious mind is getting in the way for sure. At least mine is, when I'm telling myself, yeah, I am no longer struggling with accounting, and my front brain will say, yeah, you're full of crap.
Right.
Right. So I don't know how to talk about that, Lorna, but I hear what you're saying. I totally hear what you're saying, because I was brought up that way too with that. What do you think, Scott?
I believe that inherently in our brains, the word no exists and it has to exist as a self protection mechanism. So,
Mhm.
no natural part of it. And I believe there is a path to self talk and affirmations and mantras, that it takes time and conditioning. It's not, okay, starting tomorrow or right now, I am total 100% positive self talk. You can say that. It takes a little while because the mind and the brain have been trained for so long, and it's going to take a little time to get out of it.
Yeah, and I think that if I had my choice, Lorna, uh, I would definitely use all positive for reframes. Like I'm always trying to look at what's the best way of saying this without having any negative. So I totally agree with you. Uh, but I'm just learning. I'm just opening my mind to how, like, all the self talk that I'm looking at. There's a lot of things that say I no longer do this, or I am not this person, or whatever. Um, and I'm just giving it a shot. I'm always looking at being the guinea pig and seeing, like, let me see how this all works out, just like I did in 2007, and it worked out. So I'm thinking, well, maybe these guys got something going that I'm not yet doing.
Give it a shot, Joey.
Frontal lobe is an executive function. Yeah, reasoning, expression, for sure. Yeah, yeah. Your what's the middle brain like? I did know this before. The middle brain is like all the emotions and all the other things, and um whatever it is. Yeah, so my brain is not it's not going it's not allowing me to tap into that area of knowledge. An event happens, we make it mean something about us, and then we live from that place. What's the fact? An event happened, it's neutral, but our brains as kids make up all of the meaning. Yes.
I'm glad we got smart people in the room.
Better with I don't smoke, otherwise one will lie. Yes. Yeah, that's great. I don't smoke. That's a perfect way of reframing that one. Thank you, team. Yeah, perfect. Two words to eliminate from the English language. Trying equals failing to do or lack of commitment, and fair, no such thing in my opinion. Very cool. I am smoke free. That's a good one too. Love this. Look at this. Wow. Affirming the beingness I am. This is so great. Wow. I love these comments. Most people live from do, be, have, when it's really be, do. Oh, do, be, have. Sorry, be, do, have. People live from do, be, have, when it's really be, do, have. Cool. I love that.
Yeah, I love it.
The eternal present moment. Yes. I am remembering everyone's names is more specific. I have a good memory is also positive. Yes. Yeah, we touched on that one. So I think that I remember everyone's name is a little bit better of a reframe, right? Because it's in the
Yep.
positive. I use will and am in goal affirmations. Will is for goals, as in the future, as you said. I am is training the brain to make a statement that come true in acting as if. Yeah, that's what I mean. Is affirmations are more about I am worthy. I'm whatever. I will be successful, and I have a millionaire mind, and all these other kind of things. Whereas the self talk is actually, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up a couple of the self talks that I did um this month, and that will help. Would that help?
Sure, that'll help us with help, Joey, if you'll help us. Joey, as you're pulling that up, I know about the name memory piece because I taught it, and that's one of my things that I always taught in every seminar workshop I did. Didn't matter who I did it for, what company, executives down to mom and pops. Everybody wanted to know how to remember people's names.
Yeah.
And because of Carnegie, and the reason was, and it goes so into this as such a good example, is we've been self-talk taught over the years. I can't remember people's names. That's what we say to ourselves. And
Exactly.
that's a commonality between most people is, oh, I'm not good at remembering people's names. Oh, I was never good at remembering people's names. I can't remember people's names. That's what it is because we don't know how to. And it's just a reframe to saying, I didn't know how to remember people's names. Now I know how to remember people's names. I remember people's names. And that you put that into anything that we're talking about, it's the same thing. You
Right.
learn to negatively present the argument to your own jury that already made the decision without hearing the other side because you didn't know there was another side. And as soon as we know the other side, then we get to replace it. And again, because of the whole speaking thing, is when I would teach people how to do it. It started with, I'm going to teach you how to do it. So don't worry about it. It's all good. Take it.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Okay, I'm gonna pick a couple of random stuff, and let's see here. Here's a cool one. I keep my mind too busy thinking good, healthy, positive, constructive, and productive thoughts to ever have any time for worry. Now, there is the negative, right? So that's what I'm saying is like I'm programming my mind that I don't have time for worry. I'm 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 trying to negate it. I keep my mind busy thinking good, healthy, positive, constructive, and productive thoughts to ever have time for any worry. I'll give you another one. There's a whole bunch of them. Um, Now is the perfect time to get myself in shape. I choose to be healthy and fit, so I eat right. I get the exercise I need, and I make sure that I get the right amount of rest and relaxation. I focus the attention of my mind only on those things that I can do something about. If I cannot affect it or direct it, I accept it. So you see, these are all, here's a memory one. I have a good memory. I easily and automatically remember any name or anything that is important to me. These are all reframes, and they're all in the present moment, and they're all telling my subconscious what I am and or what I want to be in the future. So that's why self-talk is so important to do every day and multiple times a day. That's why I'm now creating my own database of things where it just takes a quick second to open up my app or something, right? And read something to myself just to program my brain. It takes like literally 30 seconds to do that, if not 30 seconds, like 10 seconds to do that. So
Well, you've
why
been
not do it?
haven't you been doing that with your alarm for a while
Yeah.
also,
Oh,
Joe?
yeah. That's thank you for bringing that up. Okay. So I want to show everybody my alarm. And this, now that you brought that up, bro, like it's so true that I believe this is what has been part of my success. So I'm gonna bring up my alarms. If you've never seen me do this before, and I learned this from Brendan Burchard, by the way. But okay, I'm gonna bring them up. So my alarms go off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times a day, every day since 2014. These are the alarms I've had. I'm going to put them up and hopefully we can read them. Okay. So the first one, can you see that, Scott?
Be optimistic and caring every
Yeah,
weekday.
so forget the every weekday because that's when it's happening. So the
Okay.
first part of it, the first one is right there.
Be careful. Be optimistic and caring.
Next one.
Are you inverting things to avoid the important, inventing things to avoid the important?
Right.
Bring the joy. You can handle anything. Ego is the enemy.
And the last one.
You are truly blessed. Be thankful.
Those come up every single day. And I believe that they have, as you read them now and you know me, Scott, would you agree that this has
Yeah.
shaped who I am and what I think about every day? And it's so funny that even though I'm reading them and they come up in the day, I still don't really remember what they are and when they're coming up. And it's
Yeah.
been since 2014. And I'm telling you, especially that one where it says, you can handle anything at 3 o'clock. I can't tell you how many times that thing has come up when I've been in the fan. The stuff's been hitting the fan and that thing hits. And I'm like, holy crap,
Yeah.
you're right. I can't handle anything. So I highly recommend this. Use technology to your advantage. And this is how I use it to my advantage. It comes up every single day. That was a great way to end this conversation, Scott, by the way. Thank you for bringing that up.
You are welcome. Thank you for sharing that with me a couple of years ago when you did, because if we were to go in and look at my alarms, you'll notice that I've got 4 of them set. I don't do them as religiously as you do,
Can't
but
really read them, but I believe you. What are they? Read them out.
mine is have faith, hope, and love. The second one is intensely loved you are. The third one is life is infinite. And the fourth one is you can accomplish anything.
I love it.
So, I did them. Speed of implementation. You've gifted me with a lot of things to implement over the years we've been playing, and there's just always something cool we play with that we get to implement, or we get to say, okay, that was good. Let's move on to the next thing.
I have a great idea here. Um, just sparked an idea and a thought that, and you can find self-talk stuff all over the internet. So what I'm going to do next, actually, and suggest that you do, everyone, is send yourself an email. So grab, even if it's one a week. So grab 52, right? Self-talk stuff and set them all up in email and send yourself an email every single week. Like set them up for automatic. Right. So set it into a campaign and everything. You use technology to your advantage and have yourself, your future self, talk to you right now. So
Cool. I like
send
that.
yourself an email and set it up for every single week. You get this random email and you'll forget about them. Don't set them at the same times and see what happens. See what happens in your life.
Interesting way to end the show after we ended the show.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for all these amazing comments. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of our tribe. By the way, we didn't invite you into the Facebook group. If you are not already in our Facebook group, there is, come on, Facebooks. There we go. If you are not in our Facebook group, it's an amazing tribe of amazing humans talking about all this stuff to support you and just help you with the business moving forward. None of this crazy pitch stuff that you won't be bombarded with. It's nothing like that. So please join us if you're heart centered and you want to grow your business with amazing humans around you. That's where you go. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of this for the last 3 years. My friend Scott, thank you for being an amazing co-host. And let's move on to year 6. Let's towards year 6.
Year 6. Yay.